Just that we have a tighter time frame than we thought. So, as you folks know, when we did it, or at least Joe knows, when we did the 4 unrelated and the 3 student, we had an entire night of testimony, which I think we can anticipate again. So I'm going to call a special meeting now in June, but probably early June, to have that entire discussion by the public. And then, if we're able to get through all the commentary, we can close the public hearing at the end of that and maybe set it down for our June regular meeting for a decision. If not, absolutely have to call another meeting because we got to be done by June 30th to meet the deadline statutorily, correct?
Correct.
So, not Heidi, but Mike or Jill, probably beginning tomorrow, will reach out to the board members to try to nail down 2 dates, at least one in early June for the hearing, and then if we can finesse the regular June agenda, we can put the decision on that, or we can have a special meeting at the end of June. But we just got effectively 3 weeks cut off of what we were allowed to do, or what we thought we could do.
We have no opportunity to introduce this subject at our special meeting in a couple of weeks.
May 24th?
Yeah, May 24th.
No, because I need a whole night for just the 3 students. So the May 24th meeting already has 4 site reviews and 1 or 2 subdivisions.
No,
so yeah, so that's a good question. But no, that's why we need a special night. And Mr. Marcel has informed us that we need to take all the commentary at that special meeting. So we got to set aside a night for that.
And if I can ask, you said it, but I didn't write it down. What's our deadline? Is it the 28th?
It was 45 days from, well,
Today.
45 days.
either today or yesterday. So
Okay.
we'll go by yesterday, which is June
15th.
June 30th.
Well, May 15th to June 30th.
Yeah, so
Okay.
June 30th. So we can do that. We can get a special meeting. So guys, look at your schedules. I hope people are around. We're down 1 member. I don't know for how much longer, but hopefully everybody can be there. Okay,
June 30th is a Friday.
moving right along. Regular agenda, preliminary plan review, minor 2-lot subdivision with no road creation, replat of a portion of lot 213 Petaquamsket Lake Shores, section 2, assessors plat N-F, lots 384-A, 541, 1308 Boston Neck Road, Windward Realty LLC. Mr. McGreen, it's all yours.
Mr. Chairman, the owner, as you said, is Windward Realty. Fran O'Brien's a sole member. He couldn't be here tonight. He's on a family outing in Ireland, but he gave his apologies. The property is 34,423 square feet. It was actually at one point in time 3 lots, and then the prior owner merged all 3 lots. This was one about here, and then a 3rd one, and then in '94 he merged this into a single lot. Even though it's assessed as 2 lots right now, it's really a single lot. What they're looking to do is separate it into 2 lots, a 20,000 square foot lot and a, can't read that far away, 14,423 square foot lot. It's in an R10 zone, so they're both would be legal conforming lots. This lot is serviced by public water and sewer. This lot's already connected to sewer and it has public water. And staff gave a positive recommendation. It meets all the standards of 45/23/60.
So there's adequate frontage, correct? Adequate, and there's adequate buildable area. There's no compromised wetland area. It's all pretty dry.
No wetlands on the site at all. There are some to the south, a little ways off, but the site is, the southern half of the site is altered already as a private property. The northern half of the site is vacant. It's wooded, but it's also dry.
Can I ask, what's for sale now? Just the house or the entire
Nothing's for
parcel?
sale.
There's just
for
no sale sign in front of it.
Yeah.
On the house lot?
Yeah,
Right
right in front of the house.
That's news to me. Because my client intends to build on this house, on this lot.
So,
I'm just wondering if it's contingent on the
that's
subdivision.
actually illegal to do, because prior to.
Well, maybe
you're not
he's selling
supposed
it. Oh, he's selling it as a single lot right
He
now.
could sell the entire,
Well, that was my question.
he would be selling the entire parcel.
It's news to me, I didn't know what's for sale.
We like keeping you in the loop.
Thanks. Maybe someone's.
So is that some condition that we put on this, or?
No, I mean,
No.
it's not, it's.
You just can't do it.
You're not supposed to advertise a lot for sale unless it's legally existing.
Unless it exists.
Yeah.
Right, my assumption, honestly, was that the entire
So, no,
parcel
that's
was
what I
for sale, including the house and the open
I didn't
land.
think so. I thought he was going to go in for a building permit if he gets the approval for a building over there.
Not your problem, probably his problem.
Right, and we're doing, this is a minor sub, so we're doing everything today.
Well,
He's
there
not
will be
coming
a-
back to us, is he?
There will be a final. I have suggested that the final be done administratively. That's
Okay.
your call to make, obviously.
So can you just confirm that point for final?
Yeah,
What's being sold?
it actually wouldn't be relevant to
No, true.
the standards in play.
Right.
I can let you know. I mean, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was
Something new.
Did the sign just go up? I haven't seen it.
I went by,
Yeah,
Sunday,
no.
Saturday, Joe?
I was by at 4 o'clock. It was, the sign was still there. Jack, the shape of that cutoff there, it tells me he wants 20,000 square feet of the other lot for a reason.
Yes.
And that's like, he could divide that. So
No,
why doesn't
he
he
wants to
divide
put
all
two-family
three right
there.
now and just get it done with?
He wants to do a two-family. You need 20,000 square feet.
Oh, he's gonna do a two-family? That's what
Yeah.
I was thinking it was
Yeah.
gonna
Oh,
be.
okay.
So you need 20,000 square feet and.
All right, but let's be clear. He might change his mind,
Yeah.
but then he still could subdivide it because he's still got
20,000.
10,000. He could
I
still,
don't,
it was 3 lots to your point
Right.
originally.
I don't know if he, would he.
I don't know if he'd have
I don't know
frontage.
frontage, I don't know if he'd have
Yeah, it's a
frontage.
good point. He might not have enough frontage for another lot, so.
He could always ask for it.
Well, he could ask for the
20,000.
variance, but that's a lot tougher now that he's come in and said he wants to do.
He has,
You know, 200.
he has a
Yeah.
contract pending to purchase a prefab building
Duplex.
duplex, which is gonna be, he'll drop the hammer as soon as the 20-day appeal period expires.
And I believe all that's in the works, but stuff changes.
Yeah.
So we just have to anticipate. But what's the frontage, Mike, just roughly
It's,
from the lot that's being created?
Um,
And what do you need? You need,
I'm gonna have to look at the map for
what do you need,
that.
150?
You need 150 for it.
For a
He needs 150.
duplex. So
And-
just eyeball that, just in case. And he needs 100, and he's gonna split it into 2 lots, right?
Tell you.
Is he leaving the existing structure?
Yes,
Up?
yes, yeah.
Someone needing?
They're selling it.
It looks like it's 180 feet from corner to corner.
So he couldn't, without a variance, he couldn't subdivide that by, essentially by
You
right.
can't subdivide and ask for variance. I mean, you can, but.
Unless
He
you
could ask
unless
for a
you use
variance.
Petaquamsky Lake Shores as his frontage for the corner lot, it would be a very odd shape.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
could do that. That's frontage and then frontage on Boston Neck.
yeah.
But see, it was 3
Yeah, but then he'd lose he'd lose the 150 on Boston.
He'd lose a two-family.
Oh, yeah, that can't.
No,
be
I
done.
know, but if he wanted to go back
Oh,
and
back
and
to the-
subdivide it into 3 lots, he probably has frontage, but I'm not really that exercised about that because he's got enough land here.
Is the process, if he was making 3 lots now, the process the same as he's doing now?
Yeah,
You
you
know,
just
the
have
rest of the
to
process is
cut it
complicated.
differently, you have
Yeah.
adequate frontage and area, I don't know. Because it's actually over 30,000, right? It's 34,000, so he's got
Yeah, he's got extra
He's
land
got
on the other
extra
piece.
land.
Yeah. Yeah, he had looked at that and decided to go with the 2 rather than 3.
And again, I'm sure he is, but things change.
Things change.
Especially if there's a for sale sign out there.
If you were to try to, if the applicant were to come back
know about.
to divide, they would need approval from DOT. Because at that point, they would be seeking a physical alteration permit to install a driveway. Right now, they don't need approval from DOT because they can run their driveway and their utilities in all off Petaquamsky Lake Shores Road. So it's, DOT has a copy of these plans.
That
they
was
haven't
that's how it
responded
used
yet.
to look.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That was my only question that I had, was access to the northern lot, is that coming off Boston Neck and it doesn't exist because I didn't see anything?
If he
Or is
gets a
that coming
curb
in
cut.
pop,
Yeah.
I imagine he's gonna go off the other road,
Yeah,
so
that's
he
what
doesn't
I-
have to go
I assume?
for a DOT.
Okay.
Well, plus he can hook into the sewers there.
Right.
That's
River water.
So, you know, he has all the conditions in place for this to be approved without the necessity of DOT authorization. If he wants a curb cut on Boston Neck Road, well, he can go and look for it. It won't come back to you because it's
Right.
just a matter
It's
of,
just between him and DOT.
it's just part of the construction
All
process.
right. Any other questions?
I mean, from my perspective, it's sort of in the comp plan and stuff, we're trying to manage curb cuts on Boston Neck Road, so
Yeah.
from my perspective, it'd be better if he came off the other road, not another curb cut.
That's true, but I don't think you have the authority to tell him he can't.
No.
Only
DOT
DOT
gives
has
it
that
to him.
authority.
He can give it to him.
They'll take the path of least resistance.
I mean, we
I
can
would
discourage
assume.
it,
I would.
but I don't think we can stop him.
Anything else, good?
No.
Anyone in the public have anything on this? So Mike's summary of May 8th has all the standards. We have to make a positive finding on all the standards that are required for a subdivision. And again, if you're in agreement with Mike's conclusions, you can just incorporate his findings as your motion, but somebody's got to do.
Well, yeah,
Those
this is an easy one, I always leave the hard ones to So move the application.
Yeah, you're entitled to do that. I mean,
Move- Application before us, replat portion of lot 213, Petagromsett Lake Shores, lot line of subdivision assessor, and that lot 384A and 541 is complete and in conformance with comprehensive plan.
Seconded.
no,
Yeah,
we're not doing a
that's
comp, we're not
Oh,
doing
that's
a
right.
comp,
You don't
we're
actually-
doing the subdivision, which is
Well,
the 7
why
standards.
didn't you stop?
I'm sorry, I thought I was clear. I thought I was clear.
Yeah, so I think a motion to accept staff's
Yes.
recommendations and
Yes.
findings within the project summary dated May 8, 2023 would be the proper motion.
You know it's bad when Steve's coaching us from the sidelines.
So moved.
Right. And keep in mind, there are 5 suggested conditions
Yeah.
on the decision.
Yeah, did
You'll
Jack
find that on
say
the
that?
last page.
Jack
I don't have a
said
problem.
acceptable.
You're okay with those?
With those conditions,
Okay, it's a motion by Dr. Neal,
Seconded.
second by Mr. Brady. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Let me see.
I think another for sale sign just went up.
Okay. So Antonucci's being moved. So now we go to Freeman, Plat Q, lot
Thank you.
27-1290 Woodward Avenue. Who's here to represent Freeman? Yes, come forward. And you are?
Hi, I'm Jessica Freeman.
How are you?
Good, how are you? I apologize, my husband was supposed to be here and he is on a business trip, so he is not able to join us, so I'm going to do the best I can with what I got. We are the owners,
Hang on.
that's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
my house, but I'll
No,
take it.
no. Sorry,
I don't think we have that authority.
Wait a
That's
minute.
not us.
I thought I had it, wait a second.
He would enhance the pool.
But it would really help.
Here we are. Okay, now.
Perfect, great.
Now we
So,
can just-
no, that's not mine. Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
that is
that's
mine.
yours.
Yep, that's
That is
yours.
mine, it works. That- I do own that. So 90 Woodward Avenue is our home. We are in an R40 zone. And the reason we're here is we're requesting a relief in terms of the rear yard setback for, we're putting a shed for the pool. The reason we are requesting this relief is the way that the setback in the house is situated, we are required with a 60-foot setback. And we were requesting a relief for 30 feet. As you can see, most of the backyard is in that setback situation. We elected to put the pool here and got approval to do that, hopefully to be good neighbors, right? We're trying to keep the pool, we have a really large side yard and we put the pool behind and we're trying to be as minimally invasive to our neighbors. So we're asking for the pool shed variance. Our hope for the pool shed is to store pool equipment. But that is not electrical equipment. The electrical equipment is located on the side of the house. So there's no electrical, no water, And I'm here to answer any questions you have.
Was there, was there a variance for the pool?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
What year was that?
July 6, 2021.
2021, and how many feet was it? That's the same 60 feet, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And at that time, that would have put the pool right up against the house, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Because you had built the house.
We didn't, no, the house was built in the 80s.
Right,
Yeah.
but I mean, whoever built the house put it in
Right.
such a way.
This was the one, if you remember, Mr. Chairman, that there was discussion about could the pool be put on either of the
On the
side yards?
That's correct. I
And
remember
it
this.
seemed at the end that it really only made sense to put it in the back and suggest the relief be
Yeah.
approved.
And that was approved by both planning and zoning, or did
Yes.
we? Yeah. I don't remember if we liked it or not.
Remember?
Obviously
do you-
zoning
do you-
did, because they're the final word on this, but that's okay.
I don't recall if this board, but
Okay, but
I don't recall it being an issue either.
all right, so if this shed, point it to me, Mike or Jill, with the pointer, if this shed were 60 feet, it would be
It would
in that
start,
same, it'd
It
be
would-
up,
It would
be
be
up
inside
here.
that dotted line, Mr.
it
Chairman.
would be up in
there.
there, closer to the house, further away from the pool.
yeah, this is the 60-foot setback.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'll just give a, I don't have a major problem with this, and I'll tell you why. 20,000 square foot lot needs 150 feet of frontage. Right?
An R20.
R20, that's a minimum.
Hmm.
So if it has 40,000, the length of it is 266 feet. If it was a standard 40,000, or, 40,000 square foot. I
Mhm.
think my math is right. 266, this is 175. In other words, it's 260 across the frontage, and it's 175 this way.
It is
Well,
long, it is longer than it is.
It's way longer than
yeah,
it is.
It's a rectangle face this
Right.
way.
Correct.
Well, the point I'm trying to make is that the 60-foot setback to the rear makes sense when the lot is 266 feet this way.
Feet as opposed to wide.
Right,
Wide.
Right.
and this lot's kind of turned on its side,
Right.
so, I think the 60-foot is,
You know, if you look at our neighbors, their pool is much closer to the property
yeah,
line.
that's not my thing. My
Yeah,
thing
okay.
is the 60 feet appropriate? And I think there's some room for some variance on the 60 feet. That's my only point, because of the weird configuration. Even though it's over 40,000 square feet, the lot,
Yes.
it's not a standard dimension. So if that makes any sense at all, but, Joe?
Yeah, did you put the pool in, or did your previous owner put the pool in?
We put pool in.
Okay, why didn't you put where is the mechanism that runs the pool? Is it up
The
there?
mechanism that runs the pool is right over there, to the left of the house, by the air
Oh,
conditioning
does it
handlers.
sit here?
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. The other thing is, I hesitate to go on people's property because I never got an ID. I've been on this board a long time, but nobody gave me an ID. So.
I've asked for one.
That's a complaint, basically.
I've asked for it numerous times.
Send me
a picture, I'll make
And go back to the fencing around the pool, it makes me nervous.
Hold on, Doc, I
Yeah,
have to move, okay, and let me
Yeah.
blow it up for you.
is this there?
That fence is not there,
Why not?
because the pool is not completed,
And it's not filled.
and it's not built. No.
Take care of that. I'm a pool guy.
Okay, good.
I have a
Well,
pool, but
good.
people die in pools
Absolutely all the time, and I have 4
every
children.
year. So
Yeah.
just-
We're gonna
Okay.
put an automatic
all right.
cover in
Yeah,
there.
I
so
didn't see any real fencing around it, so, okay.
That's a good pickup, Doc. I didn't notice that.
So the shed, if it's placed there, there's still 30 feet,
Correct.
but to the property line.
In the back, yes,
In the
many
back.
more on the side,
From the back wall of the shed to the property line is
30 feet,
30 feet.
they're a little over 30 feet.
0.1, I'm not gonna.
Yep.
Is it a prefab shed?
Yes, I bought it from we're buying it
Yeah.
from Lakeside on South Pier.
I just noticed the notes about erosion control
Do we have to think about that with the prefab?
So I think we had to submit something for erosion. Oh, no, maybe not. We had to submit something for the rainwater. So they're going to do a trench around with,
Oh, so you would have
Yeah,
erosion
signed
control.
off on
Okay,
yeah.
Engineering signed off on it.
okay.
There are other conditions on this.
Yeah, the 120 mile an hour wind.
Right, they're gonna put the piers in and bolt it to the piers.
Okay.
Have you seen the other conditions?
Yeah, they seemed reasonable.
Okay. Anybody else on the board? Anyone in the public? Comment? So, we need a motion on completeness, and then we need a motion on the
I don't think
variance.
I need Steve on this. Move the application before us, Freeman, tax assessor plat Q, lot 27-12 is complete and in conformance with town comprehensive plan.
Second.
Have a motion by Dr. Neal on completeness and conformity, second by Mr. Friday. All those in favor? Aye, 4-0. And then the motion, Joe?
Move the application before us, Freeman tax assessor, plat Q, lot 27-12, positively with the comments, recommendations of staff and correspondence dated May 10, 2023.
And that includes the 120 mile an hour wind requirement from the engineer or building inspector. Seconded.
Motion by Dr. Neal.
Wait.
What,
Vote.
I'm sorry, Mr. Brady, what are you referring to?
Yeah, there was a letter from the building inspector that they required that the final building plan must conform to the 120 mile zone requirements.
And that's for a shed?
Yep.
I, just for clarity's sake, I believe you're referring to the denial letter?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they would need to comply with whatever,
that, yeah.
whatever building code requirements.
I just like to tuck everything in there.
Okay.
So, Joe, would you add that to your condition?
Absolutely.
And you're seconding that, Mr. Brady?
I am.
Okay, motion Dr. Neal, second by Mr. Brady. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good luck.
Okay, thank you, have a great night.
Okay, we're at Maida, plat Y-1, lot 130, 30 Oak Hill Road.
So we're gonna find out.
You are, sir?
David Andriozzi, I'm the architect.
Okay, Mr. Andriozzi.
I'm sorry, the owners could not make it today. I wanted to ask you, should I do sort of I can do like a smaller summary, or I can actually go through the development standards, the standards granting, and for the variance and for the use permit, and describe our position on each one of those items.
Well, you could focus on the variances requested and
Okay.
what standard does it meet, or why should we accept it? if
Okay,
you
so
want.
the project requires a special use permit for a coastal resources overlay district, dimensional variance for both side yards and front yard setback, and a dimensional variance for the floor area ratio.
Right.
Those are best described in, I think, page 3 of our set of plans. It's a site plan that has colors for each one of those asks right there. And in short, my clients are committed to Narragansett, they're committed to this area, they're committed, their best friends from URI live a couple of houses down. They want to come in here, and they hired me to make it sensitive and within the context of the neighborhood. So they also bought a house that was sort of contemporary and dated, and it's way too small, and there's nothing they can do about that, but they accepted that. But we're just trying to address a couple of things to sort of modernize it. And one thing was to put an entry on the front, which creates a very, very slight touch to the front setback. The setback is actually here, so we're adding a little gable just to sort of add a warm hello to the neighborhood. The second issue is there's a floor area ratio, and that has to do with the master bedroom suite. The master bedroom suite has no bathroom, so we're using an existing shed dormer, and we're bumping it out and making it a two-story addition. It's a one-story addition on top of an existing first-story addition, just so that we can get enough room for a small bathroom, and the master bathroom becomes a little bit more logical. But again, that's not affecting the first floor plan. And the third item is the rebuilding of the deck, which is rotted and dangerous. And in doing that, we've just tried to reorganize it. It's sort of haphazardly all over the place with different position pilings and all over the place. And to do that, we've made two changes that affect the side setback. On the north, we want to add a stairway so that we have two stairways off of the deck for safety. And we're putting a minimal width stairway against a rebuilt chimney that's there now. And it's only 3 foot wide, but it's bumping us a teeny bit over that, a little bit more over that side setback. And then we have a secondary stairway on this side, and the reason that that creates an L is that we want to create, the owners want to create a little area for a grill where they can see out of the kitchen so that they can keep in contact with the grill. We have a small, we made a small diagram of just how small the existing deck is, just to show you.
I haven't seen it.
This is new.
Okay,
Oh, can I?
well, the secretary just has to receive it, that's all.
I have copies for everyone.
Tags there.
Okay.
Who is it?
Yep.
Mr.
Mark.
Murray.
Seem to be the
Do you need a
default.
pen?
Yeah.
Default.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So you can see the proposed grill would be sort of in this area, but even with the grill in a single seat, it's still pretty tight. The existing grill is tucked way over here, and the existing deck, which again is being rebuilt approximately in the same location, I mean, it's big enough that it barely fits a dining room table and probably couldn't fit an umbrella over it. But that's fine. So that sort of oversimplifies the sort of three things that our request has asked.
Can I ask you a quick, the FAR, is this the one, it's already over?
It's already over.
Sorry, over.
And so this 266 includes how much it's already over today?
Correct.
It's only going over another, not only, it's going over another 52 square feet. So it's already,
Is it? Yes.
it's already 200 and some square feet over the FAR.
Yes, so that's math, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
but yes, we're coming in, since they're asking for an increase in what they have, we're flagging it for the whole thing.
For the whole thing.
So I have the exact numbers. The maximum max is 3%. We're currently at 0.3301%, and we're asking to go to 0.3352%.
Right.
And that's because of a bathroom.
That's because of the second floor bathroom,
Right.
which is now,
Which is now going to be living space.
it's a
Wasn't
closet
before.
now, it's a slanted closet.
And the right yard side setback, it's already encroaching
I have that too.
today.
Yes,
This step up is just adding to that encroachment.
the building official flagged this step for the right side yard setback.
But the 7.2 feet is essentially what's already the encroachment today.
Which side
The
are you-
right side.
The right side, which is the north side. It's required 15, it's existing 9'8" in the 16th. And we're asking to reduce that to 7'1 3/4. So proposed 7'10".
Right, but what's there today is already encroaching on that side.
That is correct.
Yes.
Right. And then similarly to the left side setback, or is that a new encroachment?
That's increased as well.
The 3.6, but is this house already into the side yard setback on the left side already before we do anything? Or
Yes.
is this no, so it is, okay.
Yes.
So all three requested variances are just adding on to what's already
Slight increases.
over the zoning limits.
Okay. I'm sorry. Mr. Chair, you finished?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, on that same note, based on what I see for the original, the stairs on the existing deck are within the footprint of the building. If I'm looking at the building, on the left-hand side. Your proposal is to come outside of that footprint. And if I go to,
Mark, I can put up the existing graphic
all right,
here.
thanks. And if I go to the right, which in this case would be the top, that existing deck is still within the footprint of the existing building.
It's in line with that.
It's within like 1'10", or it's like, it's right.
Right, but my point is, even though it's in the setbacks, it's within the framework of the building. We're not stepping outside. Proposed now, we're stepping outside of the framework of the building. So, I don't know if you actually answered a question, but maybe it wasn't his, but it sounded like it wasn't consistent with what the question was he was asking. The proposal is very different from the existing as far as the encroachment, in that when you look at it, I'm sorry, the right-hand side stays within the building, but the left-hand side comes outside of the footprint of the building.
So the existing is that angle,
Right.
and coming down.
And you're squaring that off.
And I'm just coming out like 10 inches and squaring it off. That's exactly what it is. And you can see the existing is coming in with a stairway that
Right.
is down here, and I'm just changing the configuration of the stairway and enclosing this for the grill.
But we're exasperating the setback on that left-hand side, which is narrow to begin with, because now we're going outside of the footprint of the building.
We're increasing all the
Yes,
setbacks.
we've gone, again, probably, I don't have the exact number, 1'6" or...
This dimension here is 11'4", and that means that the relief is 3'6".
All right. Now, I just wanted to make sure, I'm sorry, I get a little anal with numbers. And then my question is on the top, why do we need to go out that half an inch or whatever that is there?
So that's where you have an existing outboard chimney. We're rebuilding the chimney. We want to increase and have a second means of egress for the porch. And to do that, is you add 3 feet, and that's what's actually bumping. That's the least amount necessary. I mean, it's not a 4-foot or 5-foot width.
Okay.
Is 3 feet a state standard for stairways? Is a building code standard?
36 inches.
I'm going to say it's a minimum of 36 inches. But
Okay.
yeah, I don't want to be cooked.
Standard building code.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
building practices, 36 inches.
I don't know what that would be on a, yeah, on a jacket.
Okay,
My guess is that would still be the number.
These folks have lived there for how long? How long have they owned that property?
They just purchased the property less than a year ago.
So they knew what they were purchasing. This is not a hand-me-down, family-wise type of thing, and it's hard for me to support adding to the problems that were already created, either with knowledge or without knowledge. At this point, to add to those, the floor area ratio, as you know, the town spent a lot of time over a year looking at that way, we may not. But in any case, there's a lot of time spent looking at that because people were overbuilding. So for us to agree with any addition to the floor area ratio is very difficult.
I understand. I definitely hear you, but I would present the counter argument, or I'd like you to consider the fact that it's a non-conforming lot. So those numbers that are set in that code are really set for conforming lots. Since this is a non-conforming lot to start, there was nothing my owner could do other than to buy it non-conforming. And I understand that that was a given, but I think that you can, I think that I look at it a little differently, those exact
Of course,
numbers.
if I was standing there, I would too. I'm sitting here. The thing is that you're asking us for variance both on the, how wide is that deck and how long is that deck? On the water side, yeah. I didn't see the number there.
Yeah, I'm looking for dimensions down there.
I have that someplace.
Oh, that's a huge deck.
Yeah, I have the dimensions.
I mean, the front of the deck without the stairway is approximately 47'8". The length on the right-hand side is approximately 28'6".
Yeah, just to comment on that too, you know, in terms of stairways, you can include those in the deck, so you don't need the extension to the north and to the south. Obviously, they don't want to do it, but that's a big deck. So again, it's very difficult unless, you know, I understand what they want, but it's hard for us as a planning board to agree with everything people want, because we've already spent a lot of time setting up the rules, regulations, and restrictions. And when these people bought, they knew the restrictions, you know? So that's my comment.
Yeah, and I think to your point, Joe, to Mr. Andriosi's point, the non-conforming lot, if it's a strange configuration, may speak somewhat to the setbacks, I don't really know, but it doesn't speak to the floor area ratio, does it? Because the floor area ratio is based on total square footage of the lot,
Yeah.
right? So,
And the floor area ratio changes with every 1,000 square feet of land.
right,
You might not know that, Mr. Andriozzi. It's a scaled standard, starting out at the very smallest lots can have up to, I think, 0.45, and the largest lots can have 0.25. So it ranges with the lot area, and at 10,000 square foot lot, it's 0.31.
0.3.
Right?
but the actual number is tied to the specific square footage of the lot.
0.31 times the square footage of the lot.
Right, and just so you know, if you were just over and you lost out from the previous one, you'd get the previous one. In terms,
That's
so
true.
we put a lot of, to Joe's point, we put a lot of thought into not making this onerous, and floor area ratio is a big thing in order to control, you know, the overbuilding of homes in smaller neighborhoods. It only applies to lots of 20,000 or less. It doesn't apply to lots over 20,000. So I think your point, I understand your point relative to the setbacks and perhaps the strange look of the lot, but it doesn't play to the floor area ratio because it's tied to the square footage, no matter how.
Well, the floor area ratio has to do with the fact that they want to add a bathroom,
Right.
which I think is pretty typical in today's world. And that's what, on that note, that's what we're sort of asking for.
I get that. You know, we don't redesign the thing, obviously.
Right.
I mean, they could take existing living area and convert it into a bathroom rather than create new and stay within the same floor area ratio that they have, you know? I'm not
Yeah,
saying we're gonna
yeah.
we're not
Yeah.
in the business of that, but there's other choices.
Yeah.
So, I agree with you. Guys?
I've got the elevation drawings up if you want to,
Yeah.
consider them.
And the cupola is fine, right? It's above 35.
Cupolas do not count toward a height,
Yeah, I didn't think that.
no.
We fought that battle a long time.
So, Joe, I have a question for you. So the basement plan, the proposed, it's under the current deck, it's open, it's pervious, and it's proposed to be a patio under there. And I don't know, I think stormwater management, because it's adjacent to the water, it's different, but I just been asking about that. Because it's increasing the pervious pretty significantly.
Sure, so this lot is not located in a high water table limitations overlay, so that wouldn't necessarily trigger the site coverage calculation,
Okay.
which we would count for. The project did go through the engineering department where they do look at stormwater and net runoff, and it was approved
Okay.
with conditions. And I'm not sure if we included that letter for you today, but there are conditions from that engineering letter which account for stormwater.
Joe?
Yes.
You mentioned it's on a high water table.
It is not in a high water table.
Not on a high water table, that's right. So what about proximity to the water feature?
That's one of the reliefs that we have to grant, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
they're seeking relief for that, for the
Coastal
deck.
overlay. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mark?
Michael, could you do me a favor and
Yeah.
can you put the graphic up of the existing second floor plan with the proposed second floor plan? Okay, so, I actually am more inclined on the far because it's strictly a bathroom. While I'm not in love with starting to do ifs and whats with far, my question is this. In the front of the house, you have the master closet, no, yeah. So, on the existing, Michael, could you zoom that in a little bit?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So you have the existing bathroom, and then you have a space next to that? No, to the left. What is that?
So that's going to be, that's an existing hallway. That was going to be a future shower, I believe. So where's, wait a minute. Yeah, where's the proposed? So that's this space, which becomes the shower, and you have a sink and a toilet, a closet, a makeup area, and a bureau.
So, I guess when I look at this, and just trying to look at far,
Sorry.
it would strike me that a little bit of imagination and work, but you could reconfigure the existing floor plan. Maybe it's not as spacious, maybe it's not as, contemporary, but you could do the same thing with the existing footprint. I mean, if you look at the area that's in gray there, which is the existing shed ceiling, you can almost make that a closet or something, but I'm more inclined, because it's strictly a bathroom, to kind of sit here and debate far on this, but I think, again, a lot of work, a lot of time. We've said no to less for far. I do have a big problem with, I look at the existing deck and where it's tucked into essentially the footprint of the house, to now go beyond that, where the encroachment by the existing house is, and structures are already, I think, gracious. I cannot, in all good conscience, sit there and say, yeah, let's go beyond. So that's where I stand.
Rupert, you have anything else?
I agree with the comments.
And you
Before
have a
you,
comment.
final comment, anybody in the public want to speak on this? No? Okay. So, you're gonna go, whatever we say, up or down, you're gonna go to zoning. They make the final decision.
Right.
So,
I mean, we want your support. And,
Right.
So, I would love to find an alternative that we would be comfortable with. And you could, if we are able to, or commit to, on the site plan on the left-hand side, eliminating the barbecue area and matching the house existing, and then, I mean, we'd love to have the second stairway. We can't have the second stairway unless we get the variance. And you could say no, that's fine, but that's the reason for it, is to have the second stairway down. We can't do it without it.
But there's already an existing second stairway off that deck now.
The existing plans, yes, there's one stairway on the left.
Right.
There's no stairway on the right. So
Right.
what we're saying is, ideally, we would just like to have a stairway on the right, to have two stairways off the deck.
Yeah, and the stairway, based on your drawings, the stairways, this drawing depicts it better, that stairway is roughly in line with the corner of the house. I mean, it's what, maybe
Yeah, it's like 1 foot.
8 inches?
Yeah, something
Yeah.
like that.
Excuse
So I
me,
have
just
no
real
problem.
quick, clarification, code one stairway, you don't even need a stairway off the deck, right?
No, I don't believe we
You
do.
certainly don't need two, but you don't even need one. So, you want the two because they want the two, but there's no real compelling need for two,
Okay.
you know? I mean, you could eliminate essentially all the variances and we'd be back with the coastal overlay. Right?
If,
The FAR still, right?
it would still be FAR.
Well, not if you reconfigured where the bathroom is.
I think, I mean, I understand your positions about the stairway.
Yeah.
The percentage we're going up in the FAR, they made a huge commitment to buy this house. I know it's not about money. They made a big commitment to the town, they made a big commitment to the neighborhood. They're trying to update the house to have a master bedroom so they can have it for the next 20 years. To tell them that, no, I don't know, I would love for you to reduce it at that point.
Just so you understand, when we did the FAR, it was with a lot of time and thought, and nobody ever said we're gonna go back on houses that are already over. And this one's already over. This one, if it came to us with plans, the existing house, if it came with us with plans, we probably wouldn't approve it, because it'd be 250 some square feet over FAR. But it already existed. Nobody's going back. And the addition is not a whole lot, it's 50 square feet, but it's already 250 feet over.
I actually think that's a fair point. If I had to design this from scratch, I wouldn't need the FAR.
Correct.
But wait a minute, that's because I would design all the spaces so they could
Yeah.
achieve and we're not there. That's why we're coming to
I
you and asking
understand.
for,
I do understand. I understand that difficulty, but anyhow, you can continue and come back, or you can get a decision from us and go to zoning. That's your call, or whatever you want. I mean, it sounds like with the board's of the like mind on this.
on all 3 of the 4 items.
I would think so. I would think so. I think the side yard setbacks can be handled to not encroach any further than they are today. And then the FAR is a point of emphasis with this board and has been for 2 years. So,
We agreed.
yeah, I mean, it's important to us. So.
And we've denied less. That's the big problem. We've denied less.
I mean, I guess the impact of this is a second floor dormer addition. It's not affecting anything. It's not encroaching, that floor area ratio is not affecting anything else.
So there are those that'll tell you to take your denial from us and go to zoning, and then there are others that'll say, come back with a revised plan. So, it's up to you and your client. It's up to you what you want to do.
Yeah, if you want to, I know they're not here tonight, if
Yeah.
you wanted to speak to them, we could continue this to
Continue
the
Yeah,
this.
that's what I was gonna suggest.
And that way, you're not making,
You're not making a
that
decision
they
for
might
them.
yell at you, that they may
Right,
not
yeah,
want
you can
to.
tell them what went down here tonight, and they can watch the YouTube, it's actually gonna be on, they can watch it, and, you all can decide whether you wanna come back or whether you wanna go to zoning.
And if you continued it, they would decide, if you came back with the same plan, they would then make their
Make that
decision
decision.
that night. Your call.
So we're not gonna make it, if you
Well,
wanna
wait, he's
continue,
gotta-
we're
he's
not
gotta
making a
answer that.
decision tonight. We're giving you an opportunity to go back to your client,
Right.
talk to them about everything that went on here, give them their options. They come back to us with something different or the same thing. And then, and then you go to zoning.
And to be clear, if you voted against it, are you voting against 3 of the 4, or does it say, are you voting against all 4 of the?
Well, they haven't voted yet, they have the right to, they can split up the variances or not, but you.
Myself, it would be both setbacks and the floor area, the coastal overlay, I think I'm okay with.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
So, it'd be the 3 dimensions.
Okay, so, again, I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna talk to my client, I'm gonna either come back next month or accept.
Well, you'd have to come back either way, either come back with a different plan, or come back with
Yeah.
the same plan, and then they would vote on
We
it.
haven't voted.
'Cause they
Right,
haven't
if
voted.
you said it's the same plan, it would take 3 minutes here and we'd send you, and then you'd go to zoning.
And when's our next meeting?
Well, our next meeting's Wednesday.
We have
Yeah.
one, we have one May
June
24th. Actually, Jill?
Sure.
Well,
Yeah,
no,
posted.
not if it's revised, but if it's revised, he wouldn't have enough time.
Only,
Yeah, they wouldn't have enough time to review it if it's revised. That's the problem.
All right, I don't want to get in the weeds too much, but
Yeah.
we do have a May 24th meeting. If your client said, no, I want the planning board decision on this, we might be able to put it on the 24th because nothing has changed. It'll take us 5 minutes,
3 seconds.
right? But if you're going to come back with a revised plan, that's going to be scheduled out to another meeting. But May 24th, I would let staff know, you know, if you can
we have to
tomorrow.
post the agenda by day after tomorrow.
And okay,
So you,
A
so
lot to think of.
yeah, there's a lot of options.
you need to let us know now. Do you want us to make a decision now, or would you like to continue this so you can speak with your client? You'll let us need to know now.
I'd like to continue.
Okay.
Move to continue.
Seconded.
Motion by Dr. O'Neill to continue, second by Mr. Brady. All those in favor?
Aye.
Can you take this back, Joe? Mike?
Yeah. You got the file?
They're all over there.
Yeah. I'll put it
Okay.
in.
So, next, I guess,
Still on the top off.
we're waiting for Mr. Garrahy.
Yeah, we're still waiting.
Okay, so let's go to, recommendation to the town council, continued HDC ordinance, new historic district, the camp, 170 Clark Road. Owner, town of Narragansett. So this is a continuation, folks, of a previous meeting in which we discussed whether we wanted to put the, Clark Road recreation property in a historic district, and the way we left it was, I think that there was consensus about protecting the buildings,
Yeah.
I think, among the board. And then the question was the grounds around that. So in the meantime, Mr. DeLuca took a walk with Michelle Kershaw, with Dr. O'Neill, and they, the other Dr. O'Neill, not this Dr. O'Neill. And they, Michael has come up with a suggested land envelope around each building that may be considered. I just, before you just explain that, the historic district ordinance, because we've done this like with the place on Narragansett Avenue when we had the question about the
Indian?
the poles, the dock poles, whatever, with the rope.
Oh, yeah.
You know, what outside of the front of the building
Mhm.
is regulated by the historic district, and we also had the issue down on, you know, on Kendall Green, was it, with the, is the land part of the historic district, blah, 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 or whatever, but
It depends.
is land, and, so would this land be regulated
Mhm.
by the HDC
Yeah.
specifically for this site, or would, if I had a house on Central Street, is my land regulated by HDC?
Not per se. The way it works is virtually everything that's already on the books right now is each parcel is regulated. So the Central Street District, Narragansett Avenue, Ocean Road, you name it. Every single parcel is regulated, and every structure on those parcels is regulated.
Structure.
Right. So you want to cut down a tree, you can cut down a tree. You want to plant a tree or a hedgerow, you can do all that. Unless the landscaping is historic. And we ran into that with Middlebridge School, which we had documented evidence that,
The wall.
no, the trees, the beech
Oh, right,
trees.
right, I'm sorry, Middlebridge School. Yeah, the beach
That,
trees. Yep,
Joseph Peace Hazard
Right.
planted the beech trees based on a landscape plan from,
Frederick Law Homestead.
Homestead, excuse me. And so, you know, that was a regulated component. The live, you know, landscape plan was a regulated component. We also have stone walls that are regulated components, because stone walls in this part of town, particularly Ocean Road area, stone walls are historic structural elements of the site. But a hedgerow, you know, rhododendron bush, none of that really is effective.
So why are we, I mean, we asked for this, but
Yeah.
if we're incorporating an envelope of land around the building,
Yeah.
what, it only means that Parks and Rec can't get in there and do something with it, right?
Yeah. The concern was, if I recall, that the Parks and Recreation Department should have flexibility to use its land the way it wants to, and if it
Right.
wants to expand the recreational facilities, structural recreational facilities on site, that they should have the ability to do that without the necessity of coming to the Historic District Commission for approval.
Right.
So that was, I think, the discussion element, whether it was concluded that that's really what we want to do or not. I don't think that you came to that conclusion, but you raised it as a concern. So then we talked about just regulating the buildings, but that led to the discussion of, well, what happens if one of the buildings needs an addition? You know, shouldn't we, you know, the addition would go beyond the footprint of the building, it would be off the site of the regulated building, therefore it wouldn't have to go to the Historic District Commission. That doesn't make sense. If you're building an addition on a building, it should be regulated if the building is regulated.
Because, let me interrupt, because every property today in a historic district has some land around it.
Absolutely.
So when there's an addition added to a house,
It has to be,
it has to be approved by
it
the
has to go through Historic District Commission. We're doing that regularly, monthly, we're looking at
Right.
additions. So that led us to the idea of, well, is there an ideal area around each of these structures? And we're only talking about the 4 main structures, plus in my memo I point out there are 2 minor structures. Is there an ideal area around each building that should be considered regulated so that, for 2 purposes? One is the potential for additions, the other is to retain context for the building itself. You know, we don't want to build another building, let's use the windmill for example, because it's the most iconic structure. You wouldn't want to build a storage building within 15 feet of that. It would detract from the context of the historic building. So we looked at the site, there's a site up on the wall there. Keep in mind, this is the aerial photo, and the land, this is the way the land was configured prior to the approval of the Clark Point low mod income development.
Right.
So here's Clark Point, the main building, the one you see on Point Judith Road. Here's the secondary building, and there's a lot line that runs down through here like this, kind of a Z-shaped lot line. There's the subdivision with the Z-shaped lot line. It doesn't show the new buildings, but one of the affordable buildings is here, one of the affordable buildings is here. This is the recreation building. This is the Clark Center. The office building is here and the windmill is right
Do you
here.
have this on the computer?
Getting there, getting there.
Yeah.
So here are the buildings. That's the office building. That's the Clark Center. It's got some, that's an old building and it has some very interesting architectural features. Of course, the windmill, under reconstruction, looking really good. And the Recreation Center, which is the newest building on site, built in
The 80s.
the 80s, thank you, yeah. So this was what was proposed originally, to take the entire site, keeping, you know, staying away from the low mod income stuff that's here. This is what the town owns now. This land was sold to Narragansett Housing Authority. That was the original proposal. After walking the site, we looked at the buildings and we tried to identify these envelopes you were talking about, Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
And I think we did a really good job. It was fun being out there with Dr. O'Neill, Bob O'Neill, and Mr. Hempy, who is also on the Historic Society, to try to identify the appropriate spaces. So this is the pool / ice rink, and we just left that out completely. Here, I'm going to blow this up for us all. So here is the, and we put the areas over the buildings, but this is where the recreation building is. This is the Clark Center. This is the office building. And this is the windmill right here. We identified, I think we all agreed on this one, and this one. And I have, I don't have the file with me, but I actually had dimensions on here. I think around the office building, we kept about 25 feet to the two sides and the rear. The front was about 10 or 15 feet. Over here, it was 10 or 15 feet to the east of the Clark Center. But we extended way out into this lawn because of this structure right here, which is an elevated platform. Looks as though it was a place that, I don't know, Dr. O'Neill could probably explain to you what they did there. But there was also a flagpole there. So I think it was kind of like the morning reveille occurred there. And there's a little building right behind it, right over here.
When you say all of you, you're not speaking for Michelle, but she was good with these envelopes?
Michelle was with us throughout the walk, raised no concerns as I actually used a measuring wheel, and I measured all of these distances to create these acreage calculations.
Okay.
Over here you can't see the recreation building, but it's about a 25 foot distance from the building to this line here. And then this is the property line.
She didn't express that would inhibit her?
No.
Okay.
What created 20,000 square foot around the windmill?
We led to that because there's a berm right here, Mark.
Okay.
And it drops from an elevation.
Yeah, it does.
The elevation from here to here is approximately 6 or 8 feet difference.
That makes
It's a
sense.
little bit of a sharp drop.
I
So-
forgot about that one.
And I want to point out that Dr. Bob O'Neill and I did not agree on this one. I suggested that the top of the berm be the area of context for the windmill. Historical Society, represented by him and Mr. Hempy, suggested that this entire area also be included with the windmill. This is the basketball court. We stayed away from that. These are the new pickleball courts. Used to be tennis courts. So on these three components here, I'll let Dr. O'Neill say his own piece on this, but I think we're somewhat in agreement on that. And this one here is my proposal, and this is Historical Society's proposal.
But HDC is referring this to us because their initial proposal was for the entire parcel.
Yeah, right.
That was the genesis of this, right? Okay. It wasn't a referral from the Historical Society necessarily, it was from
HDC.
Now, does the recreation department want that 25,000 square foot as part of the historical?
I can't speak for Ms. Gershaw. I didn't ask her that directly. She didn't say to me personally that she had a strong feeling in either direction. But,
Because when I've heard her speak, I mean, she has
Well,
plans
yeah,
for that, and
yeah, let me
Usage,
take that back.
etc.
Now that I'm thinking back on it, there was some concern about being able to use this for some form of recreational
Yep.
improvements, whether it's structures or just,
field or whatever.
You know, yeah. I didn't get anything in writing from her. I probably should have sent it to her for a recommendation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Joe?
As far as with the dotted line there, I'm not a pickleball guy, but I'm a tennis guy, but you know, communities are putting 16 of those in at a shot, so it's so popular. So the idea of restricting that, you know, or other reasons for recreational use, I wouldn't think we would want to somehow inhibit recreational use of that area.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it almost, to me, if you're gonna include the 25,000, why don't you just include the whole site and leave it be? You know, that's basically it. I like the thought process, I like the buffers, I think they're reasonable. I'm not in love with the 25,000 square feet. So I think that should remain with the recreation department.
Okay. Dr. O'Neill, did you want to speak?
Yeah, if I may.
Yeah, if you come up to the podium so you can get on camera.
You're on camera, so be careful.
Yeah. Watch your language.
Dr. O'Neill's have preference.
Just to reflect back on Michelle. Michelle and the Town Recreation Committee are both opposed to putting more pickleball courts there, I guess you know. So I don't think that that's quite an issue. After my Mike and I did this with Rudy Hempy and Michelle, I talked again with the Rhode Island Historic Commission, Historic Preservation and Heritage Commission, and they thought that they were really more likely to support Mike's original idea, which was just to include all of that, rather than what they described as kind of awkwardly separating these little envelopes around the building. Obviously, that's our Historic Society's feelings. The Heritage, Historic Preservation and Heritage Commission obviously defer to the Planning Board, but I asked their opinion, and they said they hoped you would defer to Mike's original position, which we support. And I think Michelle is very comfortable with this. Go ahead and include that.
The entire parcel, Doc, the entire thing, the original proposal.
Rather than having these envelopes over here and all, they really don't even make sense, because if that's an envelope, you can't put anything in these little spaces in between. There's no room to, so doing that doesn't really serve much.
You could add to the building, you could put an addition
Oh,
on
no,
it.
you could add to the building.
Right.
Is that, but again, you'd have to go to the Historic District Commission to do that.
Correct.
So if you'd have to do that, why bother having these envelopes around? It doesn't make any difference. You're gonna have to still go.
If the whole thing's in the historic district.
Right.
Right.
Either way. So, in any case, that's our position, and that's, for what it's worth, the Historic Preservation and Heritage Commission. And I just want to harken back to the fact that, you know, the Historic District Commission has a very, very limited role in terms of what it can do, and mostly it has to do with existing structures. And, you know, there are mechanisms where you can contest any opinion by the Historic District Commission. You know, we wish in some areas in Narragansett that they in fact did dictate what's going on. A lot of problems wouldn't exist, but they don't. So I thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Doctor, appreciate it. I think, Mike, there was conversation back when we did this between yourself and the people at the state, and if I can interpret that conversation, they were, well, you guys can do what you want with your own historic district relative to the land and whatever, right?
I spoke to two people there, Sarah Zurier, who's a longtime employee and historian, and the director, Jeff Emity. They both sent emails back to me stating they had never heard of an arrangement like this showing up on the wall, but they didn't feel that there was anything in the state or the federal regulations that precluded us from doing something of this nature. And ultimately, it's our choice if this is our, meaning the big town, the whole town, the town council, if this is what makes sense on this particular site, it would be just as defendable and enforceable and implementable, if that's the word, as any other designation.
See, I think this is a good compromise. I think it protects the integrity of the four buildings to a greater degree than we first thought. My concern before was if we have the whole site in there, and Michelle, or down the road, somebody wants to build a facility, right? A gymnasium, indoor court of some kind. If the whole thing's in a historic zone, then the facade of that's going to have to be approved by the Historic District Commission.
Well, the way the regulation reads, any structure.
Right. So if they build,
even if they were putting up fencing, you know.
But let's just say it's an indoor structure with 3 basketball courts. Right?
Yeah, just the facade would be reviewed.
I think the town would want to build something, not that would be ugly, but that would be cost effective.
Yeah.
And if you have to meet certain standards of the Historic District Committee for the outside of that,
well,
it's just, this is town property for recreation.
Yeah.
This isn't someone's home in a historic district on Central Street.
And I could see administratively on a day-to-day basis, if you want to just create the two, the 10,000 and the 20,000, and that space in between, and then where the windmill is and where the was that the
office
administration building,
building.
the office
That's the office
building,
building.
and just create those two zones. But I agree, I mean, I think the flexibility of being able to have that property available for whatever future plans there are, part of the thing that this board has tried to do in our individual private citizen proposals and anything else is down the road. We try to look ahead. I mean, to me, in looking ahead, the responsible thing as a town board is to leave that within the decision-making prowess of the rec department. But I could see just creating 2 zones rather than 4. If that,
Entirely possible.
if that makes a little bit more sense.
No,
I
it really is,
I like
it really is up to the, to you folks to
And then
decide
the
what you
council
think
will
makes sense.
decide.
And
Yeah, the council.
all I did was, when we walked the site, I've got my draft here, I pulled it out of the file, so it has all the dimensions on it. I went in 4 directions in front of, on each side of every one of those buildings, measured out to an area that seemed to be a reasonable area to regulate, with the anticipation that if any of these buildings are gonna have additions built on them,
It would fit within
they'd
that
still
envelope.
be, constrained within the historic regulations. But
It's
to
a
respond-
it's a smart,
I'm okay.
logical, imaginative alternative to locking up the whole property.
One thing I want to say though, just to respond to you, Terry, is there's an implication sometimes that if you're going before the Historic District Commission, that you have to build something that looks historic, and that's not true. Even if you're in a regulated site, you could say there's a regulated site, a site in a regulated area that's vacant. You don't have to build a Victorian-looking house.
And
So, but you are not supposed to build something that completely conflicts in our architectural character with what's around.
And the material costs may be higher to meet the standard of the board. And the board will change its composition over the next 5, 10, 20, 30, 50 years. It may be, so anyhow, we get, I get.
Okay, just wanted that to be.
I would support this without the dotted area, because I think that needs to remain with
I agree.
Parks and Rec. Rupert, do you have a position?
Yeah, no, I think my concern was the context of the building, and I have always thought it was weird to have the, what was a swimming pool and the ice skating rink. That just seems not historic, so that always bothered me a little
Historical.
bit. But I think the design makes a lot of sense, and I think the berm, it to rise there by the windmill makes sense. The one question, so I guess the more modern Kent building on the left side, is that rounded for a reason? Should it be squared off at the property line, or?
That is actually where the,
Thought you said that was the property line.
the property line or is that the curve of the
No,
roadway?
it's the curve of the roadway.
it's
The
the curve.
property
Okay.
line is in black.
Okay,
all right.
got it. That makes sense. Totally got
The
it.
driveway that goes
Yeah.
into the,
I just.
It jumps out once you say it.
Yeah, and I think the eye of the prize here, I think the important thing is the windmill building to preserve that.
Yeah. And the
More
context.
so than the others, and the land surrounding that.
Yeah,
I
the
think that's an
context.
adequate amount, so that's what I'd support. Now, this has to go back to the council,
yeah, this is on their agenda for hearing June 5th, I think. Yeah.
so would, just listening to the board members talk, so would the recommendation here be to not support the entire area in the historic zone, or, and then as an alternative to support what Mr. DeLuca has presented here? Is that the way we would do
Yeah,
it? Since
exactly.
that's what's
Yeah,
come
because
to
they
us?
sent you're not revising a reg.
Right, they asked us for the entire one, and we're saying,
Deleting the dotted line.
Yeah.
well, no,
No, the entire
no, they
site.
sent, what they referred to us as the entire
Type
parcel.
property.
So we have to say no to that,
Yeah.
and then alternatively, Mr. DeLuca's design.
But what Doc is saying is, we're all in agreement
Yeah.
with everything except the 25,000.
As the alternative
As the
design.
alternative,
But
yes.
we have to respond to what the council referred to us,
Right.
which was the entire
Entire
parcel.
And Mike, I
And
think if your group decides to just make one block out of the upper 2, I don't think anybody on the board would scream about that. I mean,
That would make
it's
sense.
kind of no man's land in between. It's DMZ.
It's your call to make, this is the proposal I have on the table, but if you want to make changes, let me know what you think, and give me clear enough description so I can make the map reflect your
I would
intention.
go with,
It's a
go with what you got.
recreation- It's a recreation area. They should have the latitude to do what they want for most of it. We're just trying to protect the building. So I don't want to do that.
Yeah, if we do it this way, it's also consistent with the idea and the concept of the building and reasonable,
Correct.
and it's not
For
just.
additions.
Context,
Yeah, keeping context.
Okay, so can I get a motion to recommend to the council that we not support the entire parcel in the historic district, but alternatively, a portion of it as described or as depicted in Mr. DeLuca's map, absent of the dotted line area.
So moved.
Is that clear enough?
Yeah,
I understand
absolutely.
what you mean, yeah.
It's moved by Dr. O'Neill.
Seconded.
Second by Mr. Brady. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.
Well
Next
done.
up.
They'll do what they want to do now.
Nice work.
Yeah, they're gonna do. So now we're back to Mr. Gary here. Okay, Mr. Gary,
Shoot.
how are you? So we'll go back to Antonucci, plat N-S, lot 183, 75 Treasure Road. Mr. Gary.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, John Garrett here on behalf of the property owners and the applicants, Steve and Michelle Antonucci. And thank you for the courtesy of allowing me to be a little bit late for the meeting. I appreciate it very much. So this is 75 Treasure Road in Bonnet Shores. I delivered newspapers here when I was a kid. So I know, and so I'm familiar with the property. So this is a relatively modest, I would say, addition to allow them to have more use of the house. And as Jill and Mike know, we work with our clients, and we know that floor area ratio is not something that you're going to look kindly upon. So we work with them in order to avoid that. And so we do not have that issue. We have some setbacks issues and some lot coverage issues. The front setback is the first request for relief. It's 25 is required. It's at 18.29. It's fundamentally there now. I think that may be a little bit, and maybe a little bit less because of the stairs rather than the porch, but fundamentally, substantially in the same place. The setback over here is the required side yard setback is 10 feet. It's at 7.68 with respect to the proposed addition. The setback on the other side is at the right of way is at 2.73%. Now, I read the staff report carefully, and I guess there was some concern with respect to that setback requirement. And the concern was mentioned with respect to safety. And I just got to say that Burbank is not a major thoroughfare. I mean, I recall that as I'm delivering papers. Treasure and Camden are roads that do have some traffic, I will admit, but Burbank is not a major thoroughfare, not in any way, and really is only accessed by the people that live on it for the most part, I would suggest. The fact that the parking lot is being removed from that side of the structure, I would suggest to you would add safety to the property, and the fact that there is not automobiles coming and going and backing out over there. The proposed driveway is now over here, so that situation gets removed from a parking point of view. I would agree that 2.73 is a short one, but it's not in anybody's backyard, it's in the right of way, and I would suggest to you that Burbank is not going to be improved in any greater way than it already is. And the lot coverage is I think it's at 29% and we're seeking a 4.3% variance from that and a hardscape variance of 0.02%. So we're pretty substantially meet the requirement with respect to the hardscape. I'd be happy to discuss it a little bit more, and I've talked to my clients about the variance on the right side setback, and we can have some discussion about that if the board's so inclined.
Well, the lot coverage variance is significant. And in addition to this board's concern about FAR, we've been equally, if not more, concerned about lot coverage. And have stayed pretty close to the 25% or 20%, whatever is appropriate. This is 4.3% over. That's a significant issue for this board, that we have not granted any but a handful of variances, if that, over the years I've been on the board. Might even be one or two. Let me ask, the front and the side yard setbacks, Jill, are at all existing, or are they all created by the proposal? Just so I'm clear on what's what.
Sure. So the property does sit, the structure does sit right now into the front yard setback. You can see you can see the building envelope line. The proposed addition is encroaching and
The side.
correct. And right now we don't have an existing conditions, but the existing conditions has just the rear deck in the back. It doesn't have the wraparound portion.
So it just goes straight like
I
that?
believe it goes straight down.
So is the front setback encroachment being exacerbated with the proposal, or is it?
It's being, yeah,
With
because
this
they're putting a
porch.
porch on.
Right,
Mhm.
okay. So it's already in it a little bit, right, John? It's
Yes,
already-
that's correct, and there are
But then the
stairs.
porch exacerbates it more.
And my understanding is that stairs doesn't count as being a structure in the front yard? Because it's not shown here, because there are already stairs there that encroach.
So the building, we don't have the benefit of having the building official here. Typically, if the stairs are the minimum necessary, the minimum required size, which is 36 inches, into a setback, then the building official wouldn't flag it for needing relief. These steps are larger than, and I actually believe that the relief they're flagging is from the porch itself and not the stairs. So that may be something that the building official looks at again and revises the relief being requested. But typically, like I said, if it's 36 inches, the minimum egress necessary, it's not flagged for an encroachment.
So, Jill, I'm going to ask you, I get this 15% of the coverage with respect to sun deck allowances. And I'm going to ask you to explain that a little bit, because it's as confusing of language as I've ever read.
Patrick Murray quote, so
we had a real hard time with that one.
Yeah,
it's a Patrick Murray special.
all about
So
the math.
you can explain that?
Sure.
Go to it.
So section 2.2 says that if structural improvements on site have been met or but not exceeded, or proposed to meet but not exceed the maximum allowance regulated under section 6465, non-roofed sun decks equaling 15% can be exempted. So when we do the math, we take all of the existing, so you can see right there in the proposed building coverage with no sun deck. We add everything up, it's underneath. Then we take the sun deck and we say, okay, we're gonna get you to your maximum allowance for your lot coverage. So theoretically, they could enclose an additional, I think it's 61 square feet of area on their, on their lot, and then max out. But we add that, we subtract it from the deck area, and then they're allowed a 15% exemption from the maximum, so I believe that's 1928. So 15% of 1928, it works out to be about 289 square feet of exempted sun deck. When you subtract the area to get them at 61 square feet, their remaining sun deck they're proposing is greater than the 15%. So they don't meet the definition. It's more than 15% of the sun deck exempted.
So if we were to remove part of the deck, would the coverage get reduced based on that formula? The coverage.
Sure, so the difference between 334 and 289 is 55 square feet.
Right. So,
So
By 11.
then the deck exemption would kick in, and they would, depending on where you remove the 55 square feet, you could also reduce other relief, and that would contribute to your reduction in hardscape.
so, Mr. Chairman, I understand you have this plan in front of you and that you're reviewing this plan.
Yep.
But after we obtained the staff report, we did some calculations and some changes, and to take off a part of the deck.
Excuse me, Mr. Gary, has staff seen the changes? No, so we're seeing it for the first time. They
We're
haven't
not
time to
saying
vet
it, but I understand, but
Yep.
we're suggesting that this is a possibility.
Okay.
Hypothetical?
No,
And I understand that, you know.
they still need to look at it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
okay.
no doubt about it.
Go ahead, Shel.
But if we made cut that out over here, this number would go to, let me just give you the number. So the proposal would be we honestly, I did talk to Mike and Jill about this. I had a meeting separately with them. So that we would take a portion of that deck out, and the new setback as a result of the change would be 7.73 here. And it would take out, how much, 45 square feet?
Yes.
So it would take out 45 square feet. So
We had it at 55.
55, so it wouldn't.
That's just our estimation, but clearly your surveyor could clarify that for us.
Right. So,
I'm sorry, could you, so if you were to take out the deck on this side, are you going, so the deck in the front would stay, would it just go?
yes, the deck in the front would stay.
Oh, you're just culling out an L shape, but that down the side still stays?
It does, but the property line goes off to that way, so that's why the setback would increase from 2 feet to 7 feet.
In some areas?
It would be 7, no, it would be, so, but you see the property line verges off in that direction. So and we would verify this, and again.
Yeah, we have to see that.
Of course, I understand, but we understand and with the calculations and seeing.
You estimated what that does to the lot coverage? If anything, are we still?
That's why I asked the question.
Well, I mean, it would reduce it by whatever they're reducing their deck area from. Mhm.
Wouldn't make the variance go away? We don't know.
It would,
You have to
right, I
calculate.
mean, Mr. Chairman, it's all hypothetical
Yeah.
without a new
We have to
plan.
calculate it. Okay.
I'm suggesting that that's a remedy to a concern that the staff had.
Yep. I mean, one of the things, and I think it's a telling statement, thank you, but it's something the board has said a number of times in these issues with a lot of properties in this town, and the staff says it on their third paragraph under comments. Staff surmises that the number of variances is a clear indication that the lot is not appropriate for this level of development. Sometimes the lot's just too small, Mr. Gary, for what people want. It's not that what they want isn't reasonable, it's not, you know, it's what they want, but sometimes there's just not enough land area. That's the whole point of the lot coverage, the FAR, the hardscape, and the setbacks, right? So I appreciate staff saying that. I think that's what the board's been saying too. So I don't know what you want to do here.
Well,
You want to come back with the revised? Or no?
I do not. I do
Okay.
not want to come back with a revised. I want to move forward. I want to just let this board know that that may be a possibility of us changing it going
When you
forward.
get
You're going to
this-
deny, if you're going to deny it, you're going to deny it, right? Because you haven't seen anything different which would allow you to make that.
Or you can continue it like the previous applicant and come back with a revised, or you could go to zoning. you know.
You might- can I-
Oh, no, take 5. Actually, let's take 5, because I need them. I'm gonna call the meeting back to order. Mr. Gary, you had a chance to talk to your client?
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much, appreciate the opportunity. So we're gonna go to zoning. I just wanted to alert you, that we had that discussion, and there is some discussion in the staff report that if there was some reduction in that deck area, that it could be reduced or eliminated. And I understand you don't have a plan and you can't decide on something you don't have, but I would appreciate it if you would make your decision based on what your Commissioner Fred did.
What we have. And taking a denial and going to zoning has a name.
It does.
Well, we're not gonna do it.
I heard about it.
One of you explained it to
Don't change the name.
Joe?
There are graphics up here, gentlemen, if you want to see floor planes and elevations.
Joe, there's a question.
Whatever you want.
Well, one thing you have to change is that 2.7 feet. The fire marshal not gonna allow that. So hopefully you're aware of that.
Understood.
And I asked the question without malice, how does that get here? You can't do that. Fire marshal won't allow that. You need a minimum of 4 feet, minimum. I'm not an architect, I'm not an engineer. Is that common knowledge? So why does that even get here? But yeah, you're an attorney, I mean, you may not know the fire code, but I just wonder, how does that ever get here? So in any case.
There's a road there, right?
There's a public right of way.
Right, there's a public right of way, so there's room for the fire.
That's today. This is the planning board. If somebody buys the property, puts up a chain link fences, no.
We're looking at this side
We're
right
looking
here.
on Burbank Avenue.
Yeah, it's here.
Right, we're looking,
Yeah.
right, so they're always gonna have Burbank Avenue.
But if somebody puts a fence up.
Oh, I see, the owner of the property, I see what
Yeah.
you're saying, not the
I mean, it's
neighbor,
like-
not the
it's
neighbor.
just, we have a bite at the apple, we're talking.
Yeah,
The fire code is, we all know what it is, so why wouldn't you do that for safety reasons? And in any case, they're willing to shave off the edge of the deck anyway.
and fences aren't permitted, right? Permit, don't require.
They do require
They
a
do require
permit.
permits.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so,
Mhm.
That's a weekend project, as we all know.
okay.
So, in any case, but then maybe this owner doesn't want a fence, but the next owner does that, and the fire breaks out, and they say, well, who the hell overlaid that? So, in any case.
So, we would need a motion on completeness as it relates to, I think, a residential proposal in a residential zone. So generally, we do accept that, and then we need it sounds like the board's gonna vote to deny, so we would need the standards cited,
Which you have in the memo.
which are in the memo by Ms. Sabo, and so who wants to go ahead on this? Go ahead.
I'll do the complete.
Okay.
You know, you're ready
Thank
to, now, if we propose that this is complete, then we still have to say it's in conformance?
With the residential
Right,
portion
the
of the
residential
comprehensive
portion
plan.
of somebody doing something in the residential zone.
Residentially, okay. So, we move the application before us, Antonici, tax assessor plat NS lot 183 is complete in conformance with the town comprehensive plan.
Seconded.
Motion for completeness and conformity by Dr. O'Neill, seconded by Mr. Brady. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 4-0. And then the substance, Mark, did you want to articulate the motion itself?
No, but Doc
Okay.
said I have to, so reference to Antonucci, tax assessor's plat, N-S, lot 183. So we move that the application be denied, that the applicant does not meet dimensional regulations, front setback variance, right side setback variance, left side setback variance, building and lot coverage, nor hardship. That,
Hardscape.
hardscape, excuse me. That
Creating a
the,
hardship.
based on comments by the staff and heard by this board, that the standards to be met, the hardship from which the applicant seeks relief is due to the unique characteristics of the land subject or structure, and not to the general characteristics of the surrounding area. It is not due to physical or economic disability of the applicant. The hardship is not the result of any prior actions, and the applicant does not result primarily from a desire of the applicants to realize greater financial gain. That the granting of the requested variance will not alter the general characteristics of surroundings. And that the fact that the use may be, that hardship will not suffer by the owner if variance is not granted amounts from more than a mere inconvenience.
Excuse me, how about number 4?
Yeah, I did say 4.
Isn't that in
Yeah.
here?
That the relief to be granted is the least relief necessary.
And just a suggestion, as
Yeah.
far as your planning board review, I
Right.
believe probably number 16 would be availability of alternatives to the proposal.
Yeah, availability of all alternatives proposed project.
And you,
And-
you could cite,
Suitability of the site for the proposed use.
Compliance, number 1, compliance.
Compliance, number 1.
yeah, so I was gonna
Compliance
point that
with all-
out.
Yeah, I think
Capabilities,
1,
yeah.
3, and 16.
Yeah, 1 through 16.
Those are the standards for the planning board, and then the other ones are more standards for the zoning board. What?
Which
No,
standard for the zone, from
Planning,
variances did you cite?
1, 3, and 16?
Nope, that's the planning board.
Right.
For the variances under standards to be met. And Grant, you, Mr. Brady just read them, but I want to be clear which ones you're referencing that this project does not comply with.
1, 3, and 16.
No.
No.
Oh.
The other
The
one.
first grouping that you did, Mark.
Oh, dimensional relief, front yard
Give her the
setback
numbers.
variances.
Give her the numbers.
Oh, 6.71 foot
No,
front.
What you read as far as
These
standards
ones.
to be met and granting requested relief from A
Oh.
to
Which
rate.
numbers on it?
Numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 8.
Is that what you were asking for?
Yes.
Thank you.
Great.
So that's a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Brady, second by Dr. Neal. All's in favor?
Aye.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Appreciate it. And again, thanks for the courtesy of the time, appreciate it.
You earned it.
It's okay. Okay. So the last item, recommendation of town council, text amendment to zoning ordinance, retail sale of cannabis and cannabis products. This is a referral from the town council, and they have their meeting set up for a public meeting, so I think we could make a decision tonight, hopefully, and get it to the town council, just to set the stage here, so everybody understands, excuse me, or tries to understand, if I'm right, the parameters of the discussion. The legislature has legalized recreational marijuana, correct? And the town voters voted for retail sales to be permitted within the town.
That's right.
Those two issues are already done, and the vote was, wasn't a landslide, but it was a clear, it was like 53-47, right?
I thought it was even more,
Might have been a little bit more than that.
yeah.
Yeah, assuming that you
I thought
accept
it was-
election results, but, many don't.
I thought it was
We're gonna accept that one. So, those two things have been done, and we're here to make a recommendation to the council on hours of operation, location, not debating whether retail sales should be allowed. It's allowed. And signage.
For recreational and for medicinal.
And for medicinal, right? I think, or is this just?
This is not for medical, this is just for.
recreational?
Well, this is recreational.
Yeah, so that's a separate license, but we just, it's a true separate license when they have the hybrid facilities, which are recreational. This is just for adult use, they don't call it recreational, it's called
Did
adult use.
we already pass the medicinal?
We did, but we didn't allow, the vote was for adult use, it
Yeah.
wasn't for medical. No, I'm not saying it's.
No, but medical
No, I'm
got
not
put on
asking
the
the-
books The regulation for medical, we put that on the books 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's on the books 2 years ago. Do we have an outlet already for medical? using
No,
it?
because they're not really issuing those licenses.
No one's applied, right?
No one's applied because
Never moved
it's-
that on.
there's no reason to do it.
So this is, again, hours, operation, location, and
Time, place, and manner, so things like lighting, signage,
Mhm.
parking,
parking,
square footage,
things
that
like
kind of
that.
stuff.
Yep.
And Mike's laid out a lot of this. I did have one question before you guys jump in, is, from what I read, correct me if I'm wrong, 4 facilities can be authorized for a geographic zone.
Right.
And our geographic zone includes South Kingstown, Narragansett, Westerly, Exeter,
Charlestown.
Hopkinton, Charlestown,
Yeah, it's pretty much most of Washington County.
and only 4 in total
That's
for
right.
that, right?
Right.
And then there's like 5 or 6 geographic zones throughout the state. So practically speaking, if we get one, it's gonna be one. Because,
Oh, that's from a pure business standpoint.
but there's 6 other communities within our zone that all could have one, that only 4, there can only be 4.
Yeah, but I mean, you're the planning board, so you gotta figure that at some point the state will want more money and they will expand the licenses.
Okay,
So
but right now, that's what
think
it
think
is.
of it as a liquor store.
Liquor store, based on population.
It might not be coming today,
Right.
this month,
I got it.
5 years, but at some point.
But one of them has to be work
Reserved for a workers' cooperative applicant, yep.
which means what?
I didn't get a chance to look that up.
Steve, do you know what a workers' cooperative applicant is?
No, but I would say, don't worry about
Okay,
Don't worry
It's
about
just
who's
a
gonna get
question.
the, yeah, who gets the license is up to the state. So,
Yeah.
but they're saying there's 2 categories that, of these 4, 2 of them have to be filled by these 2 categories, whatever they are.
Whatever.
Diversity group and
Correct.
a
but
cooperative.
but the operation,
Right.
you will not know.
Got it. I was just asking
Yeah,
a question.
right,
I was just
Yeah.
trying to find out about that.
right. I excerpted some of the state law just
Okay.
to give you some context and background.
So, yeah, I don't know that I mean, if people want to go through the definitions, but I think to get to the nuts and bolts of what you guys are recommending as the ordinance is what I'd like to get to.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know that the history, the legislative history, it's very interesting, but it is what it is. I think it's already been passed, so what are we recommending in terms of location and size?
Yeah,
that kind
I
of
just
stuff?
wanted to let you know, so you got a copy of the draft there,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
I wish I had a copy of the draft in front of me, I don't have one at the moment. But, so, one of the things, I put this up on the wall because these definitions are definitions given to us by the state. We have to incorporate them into our ordinance.
Right.
This is just like when we got definitions from zoning, from the General Assembly, we have to use them.
And you've basically done that for the first 2 pages
Right.
of the draft ordinance.
A question on the definitions. So there's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
a definition for marijuana retail facility?
Cannabis retailer is the 3rd one.
Right, cannabis retailer. And we're calling it marijuana retail facility. We could call it cannabis.
It confused me, the structure of the ordinance where all the others are in italics and in quotes, but that one's not.
Cannabis retailer is.
Right,
Up on the wall.
And it's the 3rd one on the first page.
right, that one is.
Right.
But then, in the,
And then you have marijuana emporium.
but in the zoning
It's different.
matrix, it's called marijuana retail facility.
Right.
That's what confused me.
Well, yeah, I think the reason we call it a marijuana retail facility, first of all, is that
Yeah, that was in the definition, Mike.
well, first of all, we patterned after several other communities that are way ahead of us on this.
Yep.
And I think they were all using the word marijuana, the term marijuana retail facility.
So I guess
But,
I would either have the definition for marijuana retail facility or use cannabis retailer in the chart. I guess I'd go one way or the other.
Okay.
They don't match is, I guess, what confuses
Yeah, I'm
me.
following you.
Yeah, we can clean that up, right?
I mean, because
Make it consistent.
does facility, under what I had read under the state bylaws, state chapter and verse, general laws, I'm sorry, cultivation, process, and manufacturing, would that be a facility versus a retail outlet? I mean, I think,
There's a different definition.
yeah, but I think we need to define so that everybody's using the right vernacular.
Which
They're
one
not
are you-
interchangeable.
So what are you putting on?
So I'm wondering, based on all the stuff that I actually read this stuff, I'm sorry to say. Title 21, Food and Drug, Chapter 28.11, General Law.
Yeah.
Is the second item down. It says, it talks about restrict license, but it's cultivation, processing, and manufacturing. All right? I'm wondering if that's a facility. Do we define that as a facility, and then retail is retail, what we would define as retail?
I think facilities used interchangeably between
I think,
production and sale,
yeah.
I think.
I didn't copy the entire
don't know.
state law. You're working off the first page of the state law?
I don't know what page, I just kept writing notes and reading.
So,
I don't know which page. It's Title 21.
21, 28, 11, what subsection?
Yeah, 2028, 11 through 15.
Oh, 15.
Municipal authority.
Oh, I see.
All right, yeah, I got that here, okay, so,
No, not that one. Next page, I'm sorry.
Rupert, so.
Local control.
yeah, okay, so local control, I gave you a copy of that.
Yeah, and so they use the terms cultivation, processing, and manufacturing. Is that a facility versus a retail outlet? I mean, I think we could easily get into trouble, and I'm trying to think of, as this whole industry matures, there'll be peaks and shakeouts. But to me, cultivation, processing, and manufacturing would be facilities. In business parlance, those are usually facilities. And then categorized as a facility. And then you have retail or wholesale outlets. I don't know, do we need to define that?
No, I don't think so, because cannabis retailer is defined by the state
Okay.
and it's in that first page of the ordinance that I gave to you. Following on Rupert's suggestion, we can change marijuana retail
Yeah, so Mike,
facilities.
yeah,
I would
cannabis
stay with
retail.
the
no, the definition's here, Mike. It's just not
formatting.
in italics, and it's not, there should be a space there.
Oh, jeez.
It's just a formatting.
It's just a formatting thing.
Oh, okay.
But, so another clarification in that same section, including but not limited to compassion centers.
How did I let that happen?
Since we
I
aren't allowed,
apologize.
That's okay. Since we don't have compassion centers allowed in Narragansett, do we need that?
Well,
Crazy.
we put the definition, and then if you go to the chart, it should be all Xed.
Compassion centers have already been regulated
Right.
under the medical,
But I guess under the
medical marijuana.
under the definition for marijuana retail facility, our language says including but not limited to compassion centers. Since we're not looking at compassion centers, should we take that out? Again, it's a formatting question.
Part of the definition, but we're not allowing, part of the definition of a retail facility, which can be a compassion center.
Yeah.
Right.
But we're not allowing it if you go to
The chart.
the chart.
Because it's
We want to regulate it anyway.
So have it in the definition.
We want to regulate it anyway.
Yeah,
Okay,
so have it in the
okay,
definition.
okay.
I think we're covered on that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, the special use permit and the BB.
Sorry, I'm just looking at formatting tweaks.
So you want it, Mike, look at on these pages aren't, your ordinance isn't numbered, but
I didn't number the pages, I'm sorry.
the third page,
Yep.
under retail sales, B, marijuana,
Yep.
1A is pretty self-explanatory, but B, 500 feet from the property line of an existing public or private school. What?
Oh, no.
Oh, not including higher education, preschool, any licensed daycare, house of worship, park, playfields or playgrounds.
So,
Okay,
So that's a restriction.
all right, so what we need to do there, good call, is put not including higher education facilities in parentheses.
Yeah.
Because preschool, licensed daycare, house of worship, and park is a continuation of the first half of that sentence.
Right.
Not, it has to be 500 feet
Right.
at minimum from those.
Right.
So I can put parentheses around not including higher education facilities, commas on each side of that to separate the thought.
The one thing I saw missing was libraries.
It's not in.
No,
It's not in the state law
Yeah.
for retail facilities.
but we're allowed to, we can't be less than the state law, but we can be more. I mean, it just strikes me that if we're gonna look at churches, schools, playgrounds, daycare centers, that library would be a lot, I mean, if we're looking at young people here, I think libraries would be a logical one.
Well, with all due respect to everybody, I think, and I'm gonna keep bringing back the liquor store comparison, you got a liquor store that's attached to a library. That's true. So,
Yeah, but
If we're gonna
the
do
liquor
this-
store was there first.
but if we're gonna do this, I think we need to be consistent, and
Yeah, with respect to libraries, so when we were looking at the grow facilities or whatever, they put libraries in there. I don't think it would ever, if ever it's defendable.
Okay.
If ever if you wanna add it, it's not, so from a practical standpoint, retail facilities not allowed in the urban renewal zone, which is where our libraries are.
Okay,
That's
All
right.
so it's covered by another.
It's already excluded.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's what note number 1 is, that's shown on here. I cut it off, I didn't put it in the graphic, but as you know, it's in the ordinance.
If it's not defendable, don't put it in.
Yeah, no, I mean, library, yeah, it's, what the state is really trying to do is, again, we keep saying this, but make it like a liquor store. You can regulate signage, it just can't be smaller than a liquor store.
Right.
You can,
Yeah,
things like
lighting,
that.
etc. That's just the only thing that was missing out of that list that I thought.
Yeah.
so we're we're parenthesizing not including higher education facilities.
Yeah.
So make sure that the trailing things.
So it all goes to the sub-keys now that you are.
Right.
So
Yep.
So maybe you guys can just explain to me,
Sure.
we get to the elephant in the room for me, is why within a half-mile Route 1, why 200-foot minimum lot width, why 1 acre, and why 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.?
Okay.
Especially the last one.
Okay. Let's start. Within a half mile of Rhode Island Route 1, I spoke with the police chief about this. You know where the police department is located? It's located in Keswick. The center of town is more heavily policed than the far ends of the town.
Yeah.
Just because the cars are coming and going. When they go out on their routes, they go through the center of town. So the center of town is more heavily policed, and it's also where the vast majority of our BB zone is located. It's also close in proximity to Route 1. This is not our marijuana retail facility, it is a marijuana retail facility, but we know there are going to be a limited number of them throughout the state, whether it's 20 or 40. It's way less than liquor stores or Walmart, or not Walmart, liquor stores, Cumberland Farms, whatever else. So it's going to be an attraction for buyers from outside of our community. What we're trying to do is to make certain that the facility is located in reasonable proximity to the primary travel way, which is Route 1. So that people wouldn't have to drive to Galilee if that's where it's located, or Sandal Cove, or whatever. That it's in reasonable proximity for ease of access and ease of identification.
I thought I read someplace in the state enabling that it has to be within visual of the highway. I thought I read that.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, so let me just, and another reason why in all our discussions is South Kingston put it off, either it has to be off 108 or 138, it has to off a state road. North Kingston is going to be off Route 1. Warwick is off Jefferson Boulevard, so all these, so when we're looking at where you wanted to put them, there was always access to a major state road, and that's what surrounding communities were doing. You know, we're looking at basically South Kingston and North Kingston. So either Route 1 or 138. So South Kingston is only 138 or 108 in an industrial zone. So it's going to be near the train station, basically. They stuck it in the corner in the train station in an industrial zone.
But 1A isn't any different than 108.
It's a state highway, true, but
State highway, you could do
It's two lane, just like 108 and
Yeah, no,
138.
So that's the ultimate policy decision, whether you put it off Route 1 or 1A.
Right. I mean, those are the two main roads
Correct.
through town.
Right.
Right. Yeah, nobody,
There's also the issue of, you know, summer traffic. You know, I think the closer you can have a location for something like this that will attract a fair amount of traffic to Route 1, the less impact traffic will have on the rest of the community. So,
well,
ease of access is the short answer to that.
I'd say, I mean, if there's, how many zones we have? So we can have 24 of these in the state.
Yeah.
Or 6 zones, right?
Yeah.
And maybe we don't have 24 to start, but like you said, we gotta anticipate that we're gonna maybe even get more. But so there's 24.
Yeah.
So if I'm coming from Warwick, Cranston, I've got closer opportunities than to drive to Narragansett, right? So, I mean, it's not like everybody in the state is pouring down Route 1 into Narragansett.
Yeah, but there will be only at maximum 4 in all Washington County. So,
Right.
So-
Westerly.
So
so
you're
the point
thinking,
is to make them, to find, to set the stage for them to be easily located and for development purposes and easily located for the clientele purposes. Imagine only having 4 liquor stores in all of South County. Or 4 restaurants.
As long as
Right,
my
but
name's
there's-
on
anything.
one of
But
them.
there's other communities
As long
north
as
of
my
those.
name's on one of them.
So,
I'm just saying, 4 out
Can you
of,
imagine that?
you know, 5 or 6 communities making up the vast majority of the
and if
county.
Westerly has one, nobody's leaving Westerly coming here.
I know that. But the point is, people are still
They don't
driving,
leave Westerly anyhow.
people are still have to drive some distance to get
I get
to
the point.
the
I
location.
appreciate the explanation.
So what was the next question you had? Was it about,
The lot width and the acre minimum and then the hours.
the lot width and the acre minimum, both are larger than the generic minimum in BB. But in both cases, we anticipate that because there'll be attraction of traffic, that we need enough space for vehicles to get in and out, and to have sufficient parking area. So, that's it in a nutshell.
But wouldn't there be some provision in our parking ordinance that would kick in if somebody, and the size of the building would be dictated by the lot size and the parking?
Well, so,
It's a different animal.
all right, so back, I drive by this every day in Jefferson Boulevard. Some of these facilities, unlike Walmart, don't let everyone in at the same time. So this facility can be small, but you still need greater parking
For like queuing.
for queuing.
Yeah.
Because for security reasons, they don't let people mull around, and you get, it's like a Disney line outside of especially the Warwick facility or the Providence facility.
Excuse me though, those are compassion centers, are they not?
No, they're now adult.
They're
use.
now retail.
Yeah, and that's what caused, that's what, Now, I'm assuming those lines will be, diminished
I
once
think so.
more of the,
Right.
more of the facilities come
Correct.
online. But the thinking in the meetings was, we need extra parking, extra room where it's not a normal retail facility where everyone's going in. There's some portion of it, there's that, the actual retail facility is smaller than, you might need more parking than a normal, Cumberland Farms.
Prime example is, and I passed it every day for 4 years, is Melville
Oh, yeah.
on the island. They started off in a little strip plaza, they took the whole strip plaza,
Yep.
and then they took the store across from them. And I've been through there at 3 o'clock, and I've been through there as late as 6:30, 7 o'clock. And there are police out there, and there are lines, literally just, and cars parked all over the place.
And Terry, as for the hours,
Yeah.
there was no magical, again, those hours are what the current facilities do. They're not late.
In our town, the liquor stores are closed at
9 or 10.
10.
9, yeah.
10.
And that is truly a judgment call.
Yeah, I would never support the 6,
Mm-hmm.
because I think to create that distinction with the liquor stores is not fair. I would go whatever liquor stores
Yeah,
are.
so
At
I
10 to
can
10,
tell-
I would go 10 to 10.
I can tell you South Kingston is 10 to 5
Oh, the
SK, yeah. Well, I think we went another hour more than SK. We're
I
just,
can look that up.
yeah,
Yeah, I get it, and that's for the council to decide, I'm just saying, I'm not.
yeah, and that was the reasoning. It wasn't, there's no study out there that says,
Right.
and again, given, a lot of these facilities have to have 3, 4 security guards, and that's a lot of man hours. So a lot of them are don't necessarily want the.
Well, they could have the latitude to shut down.
They could, yeah.
I mean, I just don't think you impose it on them, when liquor stores and other things can be open till 10. So that would be my.
So, I don't have an approved version, but I have the version that went to the South Kingstown Town Council in January. Their proposal was the hours of operation were 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
And it got shrunk a little bit, yeah.
Did it get shrunk
Who-
after?
So
after-
who,
I don't-
who
I don't have the
proposed that,
final.
Mike? The planning board, 8 to 8?
I'm
And
not
the
sure,
council?
I just got a copy of.
Yeah, planning actually
Ordinance
proposed a
draft.
greater ordinance, and the council
Shrunk
a
it
little
down.
bit. Yeah.
So this actually, guys, not to tell, this is your little subgroup that came up with this, right? This isn't,
Yeah, we don't like to call it a little subgroup, we like to call it a group of professionals, but it was like the fire marshal, it was the planning director, it was, community development, legal.
I'm assuming we're all professionals in this little subgroup.
It was the working group, I believe.
The working
they
group.
call it.
So,
As
okay,
opposed to
so
the sporting group.
you've given me the reasons, I'm not sure I buy them all, but you've given them to me, so.
Yep.
So, and again, that's up to you guys and up to them.
Yeah, and up to
So,
the council,
yep.
guys?
And obviously, the council could change hours of operations as they see fit.
I'm sure they'll have the same questions as you guys, and again, from a legal standpoint, as long as you allow it somewhere at a reasonable time, place and manner. So-
And I don't see the distinction, just myself, on a high level, making a distinction more restrictive than liquor stores. I don't see it.
Yeah, I'm not for, I'm not arguing against that.
I get it. So that's just my thing. Anybody else? Joe? Rupert?
Yeah, so I guess the one on the chart, the cannabis testing laboratory is Xed out everywhere. And I would suspect we have some medical testing in Narragansett, and I don't see this being a whole lot different than that.
They do need special licenses for cannabis testing.
But I mean, as far as zoning wise,
We do allow medical testing, but it is a different, because I have a client who has one in Warwick, and they need special licenses to do the medical testing, although the testing is the same as the cannabis testing and other medical testing. They need the proper ventilation and the whole 9 yards. But it's just They just need a special license, so that's why it's regulated by the state. But
Yeah, no, I understand that, but we're, in our zoning ordinance, do we want to provide a place, say they could do it here or not? I mean, we do medical testing, I
I mean, this is a product of the voters.
Yeah.
The voters just allowed
Retail.
retail.
Oh, okay,
Retail.
got it, got it.
So otherwise, we wouldn't be here.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we could conceivably have left out all those other definitions and all these other things in the chart. What we're doing is trying to get ahead of them, put the
Yeah,
Got it.
definitions
that's
in
smart.
because the state
Can I ask?
Got it.
Yeah.
provided them. We're putting these in to the chart as X outs,
Right.
but at some point in the future, they could be changed.
Joe's
Okay.
got a question.
Steve, can you amplify on the medical testing? What does that have to do with selling cannabis?
So, well, there's, now that the retail is, you know, is more popular, they have these testing facilities that they're now required to test for potency. And
All the product, not the people.
The product. Yeah. So in other words,
Random.
when
Gotcha.
you go to a
Oh,
shop
yeah.
and it says
They-
whatever.
That should be
X-
mandated, sure.
XTH, exactly, and as the industry grows, it will become more like FDA you know, it's not FDA regulated because it's not legal federally, but that's what the state is trying to do, is almost like a mini FDA
Yeah.
to regulate, you know, the quality and potency of
I
the
have
product.
I have a friend of mine who owns a testing, he actually owns 3 across Massachusetts. And they're authorized by the state and they're told, but they go in and just say, we're here, and they take sample, and you gotta give it to them. And it's all sealed, and pictures are taken, the video, they go back, test it, they report back to you, but they report back to the state
Yeah.
also.
So that's, and Rhode Island will try to
Do the same thing,
Mike.
sure.
Mike, there's a provision for signage in the state law
Yeah.
that we can't be any more restrictive than that?
we cannot be any more restrictive than our liquor stores.
Yeah.
Or our retail, whatever?
No, it
Oh,
just says liquor
specifically
store.
liquor
Yeah.
stores.
So we don't have a sign problem in Narragansett anymore. That's why we really didn't,
Yeah. I don't even know if did we put.
But,
we didn't even put anything up there.
I
so
think
we have
just said
a,
it.
yeah, you did,
Yeah, did we?
Yeah. There should be something.
I saw something that said you need to conform to nothing more than what your town ordinance is for, I didn't notice liquor, I thought it was the applicable
Yeah.
sign ordinance for that zone, for the BB zone, whatever
But
that
I
is.
didn't think did we, I don't remember putting that in, Mike, because it's never an issue.
Well, no, it has been, yeah. it
Let me
has been.
just check.
I mean, no one ever requests a sign variance, ever.
Yeah, we've had a few.
Yeah, and we've had some
Must be so much
places,
shopping.
we've had
Oh,
some
that was
places
before
cite,
me.
no, I mean, even the CVS on the north end,
Before.
yeah, and Walgreens, or whatever it was, remember? Or Rite Aid?
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't had sign issues lately, but we had them for a while.
Mm.
We've had a few, Sultan Plaza, down in South
Yep.
End, San Jose.
And then the
Yeah.
dirigible that was flying over the Shell station on 108
I don't know why I
one
can't
day,
find
that
I thought we did have a
that got
reference in there.
cited.
Yeah, we didn't.
Remember that? Helium-filled dirigible.
Shouldn't we just perfunctory have something in there that states that you have
I
to
thought
comply
I read
with?
it.
Well, it's whatever's in a BB zone.
Yeah.
So whatever is not in here,
It's
the
covered.
It's covered by
The
that.
farmer's bill.
Yeah, I understand
Which
that.
makes sense, whatever the BB zone sign
Right.
ordinance is.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. I thought this was well done.
But it can't be more than what the state law allows.
less
Can't be
with
less.
signage. It can't be smaller.
Right,
Yeah, more than, but yes,
more restrictive.
more restrictive, which means a smaller sign.
Okay, so.
So what are we supposed to do inside?
Well, we're supposed to make a recommendation to the council, which I'm
Right.
kind of at sea here, because these guys have put together an ordinance that, I'm just speaking for myself, there's things I don't agree with, so I don't know what, I mean, we can advance this as a motion to advance what Steve and Mike have put together to the council, and then we can vote on it. Or we can,
Well, what would you like to change? I mean, that's what you're here for. We gave you an outline that frankly is patterned after 2 or 3 other communities in many ways. We've looked at our own ordinances and tailored it in a manner we think is appropriate. But if the board feels differently, we are here to make those changes.
Well, for myself, I would say that
Well, we're not here to make those changes, we're here to make suggestions for the, to the town council.
Make the changes that the planning board recommends
Yes.
and pass that forward.
Right, so
Yes, thanks.
I would, as far as what it can't be within 500 feet of, that list looks fine to me. I don't know that I want to add libraries, but the board could vote to add libraries, but
I think as is pointed out, how are you gonna do that? Where
says
the
it's
new
not
library is
feasible.
gonna be, that's, to me, that's an ideal place for this type of a store.
so.
But it's gonna be restricted, prohibited in the UR zone.
Right, so it wouldn't be in the urban renewal zone, but that's, I mean, we're only talking about that point because the current library is in the UR zone, right? It could be, the fact is we have a library next to a liquor store. So I don't, personally, this is just me, guys, I don't want to add libraries to that list, the rest of the list
Yeah,
are
I
fine.
pulled that back anyway.
I guess I'm gonna go with the explanations on, reluctantly, on Route 1, 200-foot minimum and an acre. I think if what Steve's saying is happening in other places and they're queuing up and they need more parking, then I think that's probably appropriate. I'm gonna take his word for that. Not as accepting of the Route 1 as opposed to Route 1 and maybe 1A, but then you get the problem of maybe putting it in the north end and people aren't gonna like that if they want it at the top of Point Judith Road. If you say Route 1, that's kind of where it's gotta go, right?
Yep.
So, I guess I'm not bad, but the hours, I gotta go whatever liquor store hours, 10 to
Before you
10
leave
or
the
whatever.
size.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. What's on the books now for a liquor store? Is it a BB zone now?
Yeah, they're allowed in BB zones.
What's the size? Is there a lot size required
Well,
for liquor store?
nothing specific.
Parking spaces.
Parking's probably,
It's a retailer.
yeah, if you applied that parking standard to this, but Steve's point was, they queue people up, so there needs to be more parking because more people are waiting.
Yeah, but we don't have
Outside.
100 locations yet. Wait till we have 100
Correct.
locations.
I agree
The problem's
with you.
gonna cure itself like with the liquor stores. But you need some minimum size, maybe an acre is reasonable, but I don't think our liquor stores, like in the north end, they don't have an acre up there.
We have 4 liquor
Do we
stores.
have an acre?
I don't think any of them are on an acre.
Yeah, but I would argue, again, from my own experience, coming down West Main Road, you know, anytime I've come down there are people, there's a line wrapped around the building, and there are cars just about everywhere, and there's usually 4 cops there. And it's every single night, and it's because it's just a different business. It's not, I understand the comparison to the liquor stores, and I think there is a lot of reasonableness to that, but it is a different business in the nature of, you walk in and out of a liquor store. Here, it's very different. It's you're not having 50 people in the store.
You don't walk in and out of these
No.
places?
No,
What do you do?
Just like
One
one
or
or
two
two
people
at a time and then.
you're ID'd and pictured.
So now the place on West Main Road is a compassion center up until it converts to recreation.
That's,
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And the other important point here is how many are there gonna be? Right now, there's 4 in the state, 6 compassion centers.
I think there
Well,
was
whatever.
4 at
Well,
first.
whatever, they've all converted to.
Right, but there's a limited number. We've got the potential of 24 on this, so
but
the
if-
clientele's gonna get dispersed.
But if you watch all over the country, like Colorado is pretty established, it's a similar type of thing. 2 or 3 people at a time, it's almost like a boutique inside, a lot of security, pictures are taken,
So you like the
Everything.
acre and the,
I absolutely
and the
do.
200 feet?
I absolutely do.
So the ones I've been at in Colorado, it seems more like a coffee shop. They don't seem, that big, they don't have that big a demand, but there's so many of them, it's, you know, it's.
They're actually having a
it's not
shakeout
the
right
issue.
now,
Yeah.
so.
I guess we don't really know what kind of foot traffic there's gonna be.
Yeah, so that, and then that's, you know, obviously, like, anything else, we can amend it.
Can someone come to the two boards for a variance on that?
Yeah, sure.
What do you, Joe?
I could hear the file cabinets going inside her brain.
Jill was envisioning writing the staff memo.
So the short answer is yes, you can ask, but it would be tantamount, it would be a use variance, because it would be a variance in conjunction with a special use permit in a commercial zone.
Good point.
Because parking is special use.
Right.
So yes, you can ask.
So it would require, after things shake out, for people to come back and say,
Yeah, I mean,
ordinance
yeah.
is antiquated and it needs to be adjusted.
I can think, yeah, I can see how hours would change, I can see how parking, maybe, you know,
Yeah.
maybe
The
parking could
parking in the
change.
lot size area becomes, you know, a non-issue, and applicants come in and say, I got a small property, it's, you know, half an acre, and I think I can manage it because the laws have changed, we have 100 of them in the state now, or whatever.
Right.
And at that time, that will make as much sense as limiting it today makes.
So if we did a half mile within 1A, we're basically saying the north end of town. And then if you had the 1 acre and 200 foot minimum frontage, there's not many sites.
You're saying 1A or Route 1?
1A, you know, I get Route 1 and it's
Yeah.
the top of Point Duke Road, but if we included 1A,
Yeah.
what the council did,
Yeah.
that would allow it to be in the north end.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like there's many potential sites that would meet these two criteria.
Yeah,
No,
correct.
there are.
Oh,
Every
yeah.
single one of those retail properties on Boston Neck Road are
But
that
then
size.
again,
And
you're,
they could sell it tomorrow and, you know,
Yeah,
move
it's true.
CVS out.
yeah, and
Go ahead.
that goes back, keep in mind, the police, they were in the center of town, now you're moving it toward the north end of
you
town.
got-
And help me understand that, why is the policing, is it because of the killing up? I mean, it's
It's-
not because of the clientele, I hope.
No.
No, it's because of the intensity of,
The intensity of the use, the traffic, the,
yeah, it's, and we're not sure what time of day this is gonna be, is it going, or what time of week or month, but having, not having enough space, or being far in the south end or far in the north end, away from the primary highway being Route 1, that's further travel that the individuals from out of town are gonna have to go to find this single retail store. When we have as many of these as we have liquor stores in the state, it won't make any difference at all.
I know, there's a certain leap of faith here, because we don't know what we don't know.
no, so, I mean, in my opinion, then you'd be a little bit more restrictive than you might want to be, and then, you know, you see how it goes.
That's what separates us.
You can do whatever you want.
I just want
ahead,
to
Jill.
clarify that parking is a special use permit if they don't meet the parking, so that would be special use permit. But frontage or lot width or acreage area would be a variance.
They could request that, and not
They
Well, that-
could, no,
That goes to what Jill was just
be
saying.
used,
Right.
they'd have to
right,
cite a use.
but parking is a special use permit and it's not a variance.
All right, so that's where, go ahead, Joe.
Well, just, we're talking about, we don't know what we don't know, and I mentioned to someone earlier, I get the New York paper every day, for whatever reason, I like to torture myself, you know. No, we live in a quiet community, New York, look out. So they legalized cannabis down in New York, and they opened the first of a couple of legal shops, and the lines are around the block. However, they can't estimate, but a minimum of 1,200, and they estimate it could be as high as 1,600. Every bodega, every fruit stand, they're all selling pot. Because if now it's legal, they come to these people and they say, we're gonna fine you. And there was one place selling across the street from City Hall down here. And they went in and they closed them down, they were open the next day. They said, I don't know, was it a $500 fine? They said, Make that in an hour. So they open the next day. So it's interesting, what you don't know what you don't know, but we're not talking small numbers here. We're talking- It's big, but once you take away the legality of it, then it's so open gate here.
Well, so that's the foundation of the reason why we put in some somewhat restrictive criteria here. We want to make sure that wherever they're going to locate, that it's going to be a condition that doesn't have significant negative impact on surrounding properties or surrounding traffic, and doesn't force the buyer to have to drive halfway through our town to find this particular location.
Well, the BB zone does that. I mean, we're not impacting residents here, right? It's
Well,
just in the
we have
BB zone.
BB zones in the north end, as you know, and we have BB zones in
Yeah,
the south end also.
that's true.
And just from a practicality sense, it's easier to loosen up regulations than it is to start to ratchet them back again.
Right. It's a good point.
That's really.
I think this is a reasonable start, and it's something that, you know, can always be adjusted down the road, but it gives you breathing room for now to figure out what's happening.
So I sense,
Nicely done.
I sense a motion.
Are you guys ready?
Sure.
All right.
So moved.
I would
Well,
move.
there are some suggestions by Terry for text changes, so as you're making those motions, please address the whatever changes you'd like to see.
I'm making the motion.
Sorry,
So
didn't mean to interrupt.
I would move that this board forward to the town council for their consideration, ordinance, an amendment of chapter 731 of the Code of Ordinances of the town of Narragansett, Rhode Island, entitled zoning, in reference to retail cannabis as is.
Well, you do need to put the parentheses around not including, excluding higher
There's a couple
education
of tweaks.
facilities.
There's a couple.
Oh, that's true, there were, I'm sorry. That editorially, on some page, under section 7.22, B, subsection B, I, that not including higher education facilities should either be in parentheses or should be in parentheses.
Yeah,
I don't,
And then-
understood.
And then under definitions, the marijuana retail facility.
I'll clean up the header, the title.
okay.
That's fine.
So that's a motion by Mr. Brady. Is there a second to that?
I'll second that.
Second to that motion. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
I can't oppose it, but I did
Why
oppose
is
it.
it? I'm opposing it.
Oh, you are?
Oh, absolutely. I'm opposing on the ground of the hours and the Route 1. So,
Oh, you are.
yeah, so I say no.
All right.
What's your vote, Joe?
Well, as I said, in the voting booth, I voted, I'm very much in favor of medicinal marijuana. Long ago, this has been studied and applied to healing and taking care of people. The idea of having a bunch of people walking around stoned.
As opposed to drunk.
No, well, you can do a blood test here. The problem with this product, the problem with this product, I work in a healthcare institution. How do you test people? I mean, if you test them for the metabolites, they could have smoked or chewed 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago. It could last from, how do you?
Well, again, that's been decided, right?
What's been decided?
That it's legal and that it's retail, so.
And that is coming in there.
And that
No,
is
it's
coming
It's
next. So
coming
it's
one
a
way,
question of these.
coming one way or the other, despite my concerns.
So we may have the
I
same
hear you.
vote, but for different reasons.
Different reasons, there we go.
So are you an aye or no?
But that's not what we're voting on.
No,
What
I-
we're voting on is
Right.
strictly the retail sector
Correct.
of this. And what we're voting
And the zoning
on is establishing a starting point. I mean, to me, this is as much,
Right.
a benchmark as anything else, and it can and will no doubt be adjusted
And
one way or another.
and I'm voting no on that.
That's fine.
And
I
so
respect that.
Joe, what's your vote?
How about if I abstain?
You could,
You can.
you can abstain.
I abstain.
So we have a that motion passes.
By this.
Council's gonna be scratching their heads at this one. 2-0, 2-1-0, 2-1-1.
2-1-1.
2 in favor, 1 opposed. Can you just note
And 1 frustrated.
can you just note my opposition is to the Route 1 and the hours, please?
Yeah, and they could come back and expand the
Right,
hours.
so that's my opposition, not that we don't need
Or
an
shrink the
ordinance. Of
hours.
course we need an ordinance. And then Joe abstained, so that's it. Thank you, gentlemen, that was interesting discussion.
You
So,
wanted to bring something up new.
staff will be in touch with you on these special meetings to do the 3 student, and we'll set that as quickly as possible.
I thought there was something else you wanted to bring up. Was it
Nope.
Just the 3 students?
That was it. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
The next meeting is what, the
24th.
Wednesday. Next Wednesday.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
move to adjourn?
Seconded, non-debatable.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're off,
God bless
Dan?
America.
Tell me when.